Hello everybody, this is Leslie from Wall to Wall Vinyl. I am joining you today for Tutorial Tuesday. Couple of housekeeping things out of the way right after the beginning. If you are joining me on Facebook in the Facebook group, also please follow me on YouTube. And if you are joining me on YouTube, then please follow me on the Facebook group. Wall to Wall Vinyl Designs by Leslie Shear. I'm glad you're here today. Today we will be doing these dish towel sets. Dish towel sets are a big seller. I don't care where you're at. They tend to do well because everybody needs them. So I wanted to highlight and show you how to accomplish that. Just back up a little bit. So in order to do this tonight, what you will need is you will need your blanks. I am using some blanks from Driven by Graphics. These towels, by the way, are amazing. If you have not visited Driven by Graphics, I would suggest you do so. I have always used the waffle weave towels in the past, and one thing that I don't like about the waffle weave towels is that what tends to happen is over time, as you wear and tear these towels, you use them, wash them, etc. The fabric tends to loosen up, which causes a decrease in integrity in the design. So when I found these, when I was introduced to these, I was ecstatic, and I got them, and I haven't looked back. I gave both sets, a waffle weave and this set, to a couple of my customers that are very long-term customers that I try to do nice things for here and there, and asked them to give me their opinion on what they thought. And it was 100%. They did not want the waffle weaves after that. So I would suggest you look into Driven by Graphics for these towels. And then, of course, you'll need the design. I'm going to be doing a purple. The dishes are looking at me dirty again. You can find this design on both my Etsy shop, Wall to Wall Vinyl, and my Shopify shop, and I would appreciate you looking that out. As always, make sure you put in the comments any questions that you have. I do try to watch these with you on Tuesday nights and put in all of the links for the products and answer any questions. But if for some reason I'm not able to be there that evening, then I would just ask that you put any of your questions in the comments, and I will make sure and answer those. If you could throw in the hashtag wall to wall if you are watching this live, and if you are watching this back, please put in the hashtag rewind. For the first 48 hours, there will be a freebie that will be given for those that participate and watch this. So let's go ahead and jump in for today's activity. I will be using my my swing away press. So the thing about the swing away press, this project is too big for me to press all in one sitting. So I am using a stabilizer board. I've used stabilizer board in many of my projects and spoken about the ability that the stabilizer board gives you to move your design. As you can see, I'm moving this board back and forth to move your substrate and your design back and forth without disrupting your design, which is a big perk because that is where we tend to get ghosting and other problems like that. So I am going to go ahead and put my blank on here. Hurry and grab one of the smaller towels as well. So one thing that has impressed me with Driven by Graphics is the speed that you get your order here. You know, I talk about that a lot. It's kind of a big deal for me. It is always fast. It's always shipped out very fast, and I really appreciate that. Customer service, if any of you know Marvin, he does a fantastic job and is more than willing to help in any way with anything, and I really appreciate that. And will always throw my support behind somebody like that. So, you saw me lint rolling. The reason I'm doing that is because it is very common that dust particles from shipping, from sitting in a room, whatever it may be, settles on the substrate, and then you get transference of ink onto that. So you'll see little fuzzy ink transfers, and there's nothing more frustrating than that. So I always will go ahead and lint roll, and then I'm going to pre-press. When we talk about pre-pressing, what we're talking about is the fact that any, particularly your fabric substrates, so your t-shirts, anything like that, will hold moisture. What happens is when you go to transfer your design and to something that has not been pre-pressed, then you can get marbling. It can throw off your design and the way that your design looks. And so it's always better just to go ahead and right from the get-go pre-press. I'm pre-pressing at 385 degrees, and I do about 15 to 20 seconds. So like I said, this towel is too big for me to press. I have a 16 by 24 press, and it's too big for me to press in one setting, so I just slide my board down. It doesn't move my any of my blowout paper even, but most importantly, it doesn't disrupt my substrate or my design. Now, some of you will ask, well, why do you have blowout paper on your board? The reason for that is because I use this board frequently. I am really, really learning to love using stabilizer boards. They are imperative for your bigger projects, and I speak about this often in my tutorials. It's great having a bigger press. I absolutely love it. But for me, that wasn't always a reality. It wasn't something that I was able to do right from the beginning. And I know that there are a lot of you in that same type of situation. You may have a 12 by 15 or a 15 by 15 press, and these projects might seem a little bit daunting to you, and you may have kind of shied away from doing those. And that's what I want more than anything else, is I don't want you to limit yourself. You can do this, and these are ways that you can do this. So if you have a smaller press, that's okay. You're going to do the exact same process, just more steps to it. So I'm going to show you. Generally, I would not use Easy Tack or an adhesive spray on this, because I've got my board. My design is going to stay. It's going to stay where it needs to, and I'm not too worried about that. But I have a lot of people that ask me about that, so let me show you how that's done. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to get this lined up to how I want it. And like I said, this is a full bleed design. And one of the pluses about a full bleed design is that as long as it's straight, you know, like the lines are straight to the, and you're even that way, you don't have to spend as much time getting stuff straightened out as you would with something that needs to be centered. So that makes that nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a heavy object on this side, and I'm very, very, very lightly going to spray. This is, what I am using is Easy Tack. If you look at this, this is just Krylon Easy Tack. You don't have to use Easy Tack. There are other repositionable sprays, and that is the key right there, is that it is repositionable, so that if you get it on your design, or you get your design on your substrate and it's not quite where you want it to be, you can change it. It's So again, I'm going to very lightly spray that. And I have, you know, I have people, I've heard people say different things. For me, I don't like spraying any type of product on my substrate. So I do very, very lightly spray it on my design. But I am talking very, very lightly, or you will get modeling, you'll actually be able to see where you spray. So very, very light spray. And then I am going to put the blowout paper on the top. I started to talk about why I use it on the bottom. The reason I do that is because I use this board for many, many things. I reuse it all the time. And what I don't want is for ink to get stuck to my board, and then as I'm doing another project, for it to transfer to that project. So even the board, you know, it's less of an investment than, say, my press or my printer, but it's still an investment, and I want to protect it. And I want to protect the blanks and the substrates that I'm using, because as you guys know, those are not cheap. All right, and I'm just going to go ahead and make sure this is lined up. So I can do this in 2 presses, but if you had a smaller press, you may have to do it in 3 presses, and that's okay. You'll get the same exact outcome. It's just more steps. So that's what I was talking about prior. Don't limit yourself, and then use that smaller press and make those and do those steps, continue to stretch yourself, and then use the income that you make from that to work toward buying a bigger press. But don't limit yourself because you have a smaller press. I see so many people do that, and once I walk them through it and they're able to do it, they're like, well, this was so easy. Why did I wait for so long? So I would just encourage you guys to not hold yourselves back. Sometimes we can be our own worst critic and our worst enemy in these types of things. So don't hold yourself back. As always, make sure that you also have a cover on the top. Make sure that you put blowout paper on the top of your substrate and design as well, so that you're not transferring ink to your platen. I've also had that happen, and that is not cool. So make sure you use the blowout paper, protect your investment. If you should, I have also had it happen nonetheless on a live tutorial where I forgot to put paper down. And there is iron cleaner you can get at Walmart, so all is not lost if you do that, but it does take more time and energy to have to clean that up. So if you can avoid it in the first place, that is the most desired thing. You can see how pretty this pressed. The colors are just so vibrant on these. So I'll hold that up. That's my side towel or my back towel. And then my main design will be on the front smaller towel. So these are, I had the measurements and I forgot what they are, so let me tell you real quick. So the bigger towel is 15 by 24, and the smaller towel is 11 1/4 by 18. So really nice set. And I will show you both of the finished sets when I am done so that you can see the designs. Make sure, like I said before, that you check out wall-to-wall vinyl at my Shopify or my Etsy. So for this smaller towel, generally what I like to do is do a main design. I mean, you could do many different things with it, but that is what we'll do for this particular design. And again, I'm going to lint roll really, really well. And then pre-press. These towels are super easy to do. The profit margin is good on these. I generally charge $25 for a set of 2 of these. All right, so here's my design. I'm gonna go ahead and just line this up. And for this particular design, I ran out of paper, so I'm using some text printer, which is great paper. I generally stick with text printer or single J's. But for instance, single J's is a lot thicker, so you can't see your design through it. So what I would do in that circumstance is I would just lightly crease it. And I'm sorry, this is ASA paper that I had on hand because I ran out of paper. But I would crease it, and then I could see by my crease mark, my center mark, where the center of my design is in order to line it up. This is not hard because I can see through the paper to see what my design says and where it's sitting. So it's not going to be a problem to line it up. So again, we'll do 60 seconds at 385 degrees. And like I was talking about in the beginning, this is a swing away press. And so when you look at swing away presses, the majority of the pressure is right here in the center. So you can adjust for thicker substrates or thicker items. So this board that I use on this one is about a 1/2 inch thick, whereas with my clamshell that would not work because of where the amount of pressure is at the back of the clamshell, so I have to use a very thin board. You can make a stabilizing board work with either of them. You just have to look for a specific kind. So as you can see, this presses beautifully. And these wear so well. I have put mine through the ringer because, as all of us, I'm sure all of us can relate to this, dish towels get used and abused. And so I wanted to make sure that I had a product, and what I was finding is that some of the dish towels I had sold to people, I would see them years later and they didn't look as good, or some of the ones that I had made for myself. And I'm super hypercritical of myself, but I do also want good products that last a long time so that people are going to continue to come back to me for those products. So that is the purple set, and then I also did a blue set. So I'll show you that one as well. So there are the two sets. You can find both of these designs in my Etsy and Shopify. And you can find the blanks at Driven by Graphics. Make sure you check them out. He has a number of items, garden flags, whatnot. Like I said, probably my favorite is the towels. And but you can't beat the quality of these towels. They are just so soft, and you can see how well they press, and they just there's not a lot of give, and so the integrity of your design is going to hold up for years and years. I hope this has been helpful for you. Please join me next week on Tutorial Tuesday, where we come up with a different project, a different tutorial each week. And I hope you have a great week. Thank you for joining me.